welcome back to Maeya TV. I'm Jessica Haro, and I'm here with Cris Felipe. Thank you so much, Cris, for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me, Jessica.
So, you are here to talk about writing and acting and how you bring those two things together.
Absolutely. I'm actually, I heard from this festival years ago when we were reached out to. They were looking for a team of actors to help them perform the winners of their screenwriting contests. And so we became sort of the official table read group that shows up for the festivals to read excerpts of screen competition winners.
So you run a group that brings together actors and writers to perform work and get feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a table read group like any other, but over the years we're a weekly group, and over the years we've actually become friends, not just co-workers, and we've helped on each other's projects, but we actually got involved in each other's lives as people, so it's like an inner circle of friends that work together as well. So we have that sort of chemistry and like the bonding that you find in groups that have worked together many years together.
Now, can you tell us how does hearing the scripts read aloud help writers?
So reading a script aloud for a writer helps in many different ways. Some of those are pacing. Sometimes when you hear it out loud, you can tell whether a scene is going too long, and you realize, oh, I need to clean that up. Or sometimes the dialogue doesn't translate as well, or the actors have a little bit of a hard time, and you figure, yeah, I need to change the little things around. And other things like comedy, for example, when you have a specific comedy in mind, it's so subjective that sometimes somebody reads it off the page and they can't tell, it doesn't fly off, it doesn't compute. But if you show the person, if you invite somebody to the read, or the writers get to record the read for themselves, so they can all edit it and use it to page packages to anybody. And so if the actors will nail that comedy piece, so that you can just show them a clip, an audio clip or a video clip, and then the person gets to hear it how it was meant to be, and that helps, sell or convince investors of what you're trying to portray and how it sounds.
And does this also help the actors?
So the actors, for sure. I tell my actors that if you need to practice an accent and it fits during for the script and your character, they practice accents, they practice voices sometimes. And a lot of my actors are multicultural as well. We speak many different languages. And so sometimes a writer has a different language in the script, and they get an authentic read from somebody who speaks the native language or the second language, rather than an actor who's just trying to phonetically make it sound like what's on the page.
Now, can you tell us how important it is for writers to get different perspectives on their work?
So yeah, definitely the feedback portion, because we all come from different parts of life and we have different experiences too in the industry, so you'll get feedback from people who are a little bit more experienced and can say, at this level, this is the note that you would get. And then you get, I love when somebody who's not in the industry just hears a story and they love stories so much, and sometimes they pick up on parts of the story that for those of us who are thinking about formatting or thinking about the script, we sometimes miss a little bit of stories that somebody who doesn't have all of that going on in their heads pick up nuances in stories, because they're more like novel readers and things like that, and so they look for different things. And it's also the repetition. Doing weekly reads, it's like going to an acting class. It's like going to a writing workshop month after month. You hear so many different perspectives that sometimes you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way, and that's a piece that I've been missing in the thing that I'm writing. And all of a sudden you take that note that you were giving to somebody else and you apply it to your own thing in your own time. So there's always something to learn and it's an absorb education.
Yeah,
when you do
even
it
when
like
it's
that.
not your script being read, just being
Absolutely.
there,
Yeah.
helping other people, it helps improve you as a writer.
Right. We give a note about a character, and all of a sudden you're writing your own, and you're like, oh, I was stuck on that character for a while, and maybe that's the thing that I needed to apply to unstuck myself, unblock myself from that. So you never know from which angle, because you're your own world, and so you can apply whatever you hear into yourself, even though you're there for somebody else. You never know where you're gonna get that spark and that idea.
Now, writers spend so much time with their work. This is like their baby, and it can be hard to hear criticism sometimes. How can writers approach like workshops like this where they're getting feedback, and how can they deal with the criticism graciously?
That is a very good question. So the thing is, around these writers a lot, because we don't always know them. They reach out to us, and um, a lot of the times I do have to tell the writers during the feedback portion that they're not really allowed to defend or explain. Just take the note for what it is, and then at the end, after everyone goes, unless they're asked a direct question, because we get different type of writers, and some of them it's easier for them to compartmentalize the feedback, but others defend and explain every single idea and note right away, and that stretches our meetings to 6 hours. And so what I ask of writers is if you could just sit and listen and take down your notes, and then once it's gone, the room, well, we now have space for the writer to then, if you have anything to say or anything that we missed, that we didn't touch on feedback, that you still have questions on, it's now your time to tell us, and then based on your ideas, we go, oh, now I understand, and but because some writers can be very hard to be criticized or to get feedback, I do ask them if they could wait until the very end and just listen and take in the note without feeling defensive right away. Because a lot of times that's what makes it makes you unable to listen to what we were really trying to tell you. And the point of feedback is to open your mind as well, and to get a new perspective to help you build on. But only the writer knows whether or not it fits into their story or not. So really, it's a game of like, we're here to help you, but try to listen and don't take it personally. Again, we don't know you, we don't know your story, and we're here to be loyal to the craft. And once we explain how we experienced it, then you can explain it back to us, what you were trying to say, and then we can go, oh, now that makes sense. So here is how, maybe ideas on how you could put that together for it to really come across clean. Yeah.
Now, how does the person reading the script approach giving feedback? Because there are ways to do it that really help the writer, but it would also really undermine the writer's confidence. So how do you balance that?
So we have a great team that actually, we're all very different people. Again, we're a very diverse group and multicultural group. So yeah, we do have writers, and I'm probably one of those who might be a little harsher. And then I have team members who are very gentle, and they make sure to set up and preface what they're about to say in more gentle ways to sort of smooth. But we're also arranged in a certain way that if I know I'm going, I'll call on a writer that I know is maybe softer, so that the landing when I go, and then but again, we try to be as gentle as possible when you get a sense, because before the read we talk to the writer, we try to get to know them, we try to listen to why they wanted to write the story, what they're trying to do with it, and so we get a sense for them. And so sometimes I get a sense of like, okay, I'm gonna have to be a little different with this person. And sometimes you get writers who are like, no, don't be gentle with me, just give it to me straight. And that's when I'm like, yes, let's go, because that's my style. But we all have different styles.
Now, you're also a writer and actor outside this group. That's what brought you to do this. So can you tell us about what kind of roles you want to have?
So as an actor, I'm actually getting back into acting after a 5-year hiatus. I'm actually a transgender man, and so a lot of my material before transition no longer has any validity to my acting career. It just doesn't translate. It wasn't really who I was. I was struggling to really understand what I was doing. And now I make complete sense to myself, and now I have a stronger voice, but I don't have any material anymore. I had to wait till my voice settled for my look to fully settle. That's what made me comfortable. I'm not saying other trans men have to wait. There's also roles for trans men who are in transition, but for me it was too rough. So
Yeah.
as an actor, I'm looking for, if it's a main role, I'm looking for something that I really can sink my teeth into as who I am. And it's hard to find main roles for trans men, but mostly as an actor, I feel my comfort zone being in the supporting roles. I love the supporting roles. I love to give that element of the story that I know my character is there for. So I'm really looking for more as if you have a supporting role and you think that I would fit into and I can audition for, that's where my career is at the moment, is getting back into that swing of things.
So how do you approach completely restarting your career when you've done some work and then, okay, I have a new image? How do you even approach that?
Well, it's as an actor, really, it's you have to retake all the headshots. You have to do your sound clips. You got to put your reels together. The way that I approach it is in this industry, it's very aesthetic. So I'm getting a lot of auditions for the jockey because they're short, and I'm a shorter male, and males in this industry, you kind of have to be a certain height for the leading roles or anything like that. And so I'm on the shorter side. I'm getting a lot of I can't say the name of it, I'm sure, but I'm getting jockeys because they're shorter males. I'm getting a lot of the shorter stature. It's so specific because that's my look. So I have to restart everything, but it's really where I can see myself fit in is more of if you have a transgender part, that's probably where I'm going to shine. Or if you're okay with working with a male that doesn't need to be, standing above everybody else or at the same height. Yeah.
I think often directors get into the idea of this is what I think of for the character, but it helps for them to be a bit more expansive in their thinking because they leave out a lot of people when they're casting. Like they might leave out you, and you might be perfect for a role, but they don't even think, oh, this character be trans. And how can directors be more open in their casting?
I'm very lucky in the sense that I also, what we call in the transgender community, I pass very easily. And so a lot of the times I don't even mention that, or I hope it doesn't get mentioned. I can just show up and do what I do. A way to be more open as a director is then to, if you see that my audition gives you the understanding that I understood your character, that I'm giving you what you want in the scene, and then just ask, like, as a trans man, do you see yourself, any part of you as a trans man that we can play with here? Is there any room? Or if they don't think that there isn't, just tell me, we're gonna play this just as a cis man, and I can just work with that. But I think for me, it's just put it all on the table, exactly what you're looking for, exactly what your vision is, or if you're open or not to broaden this character. As long as there's open communication, we can work on exactly what we're looking for the story.
I also know often people think, oh, this isn't a trans role because the story isn't really about being a trans. Well, trans people do other things. They have lives.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk at the moment that like a lot of cisgender people are getting the transgender roles, and there's no need for that anymore because we should represent ourselves, especially if it is a transgender role. And then there's the conversation of like, well, then do we get to play cisgender roles then? Because then there's many of them that know exactly what that experience is like. Again, it's a creative space. It doesn't mean that we're only stuck in these very small groups, but it comes down to the director and their vision and the story. And if the communication is open and they say, listen, this is a cis man, there's no room for anything else, then great, then I'll play a cis man. I'm an actor. I can act. And if you're okay and everyone's okay with having a transgender person play a cisgender person, then there's no issue,
Now you're also a writer. Can you tell us about what kind of scripts you're working on?
So before transitioning, Funny enough, I was writing a lot of identity crisis stories, which makes sense now that I know. And now I'm in this phase where I don't mean to, but I sit down to write a character, and all of a sudden I see, oh my god, this is a trans person. And then the story becomes, it doesn't become about being a transgender, but now I can see how elements of the transgender experience fit into real life situations, and it's a fresh take that really hasn't been said out there. So I find myself in this phase where even if I try, I'm not going to write about transgender, and I'm writing the story, and then I'm, oh no, this makes too much sense for what I know, that is so personal. And so at this moment, I'm in the phase of transgender roles, but I've written non-transgender roles, and I do just as well. But I'm more like an intuitive writer, so I follow where the story wants to go and where it makes sense to what I know as a writer. And so a lot of the times it seeps in, so it becomes whatever I'm working on in my life at the time, that's my art.
Are there any particular projects that you're working on that you would like us to know about?
At the moment, I'm working on, well, two transgender roles, projects. One of them is a presidential role. It's the president-elect is giving an acceptance speech for the presidency, and realizes in that moment that they're a transgender woman, and that becomes their acceptance speech. And so now it's a story about, you ran your campaign as one person, and then you're telling us you're another. How does the world feel about this, and what happens? The comedy and the drama that happens, and we weren't voting for you, we were voting for somebody else, so we feel cheated, we feel betrayed, and a lot of comedy comes from that, and of course, exploring transgender and what it is like to be in this world, and also in the biggest stage in the world, which is the presidency of America. And the other one is actually a homeless transgender man who has fallen from grace because of the transition, and is trying to build their lives back up from being homeless and now being transgender, and trying to get back into the workforce and trying to get their life back on track because things have gone wrong in their lives because of surgeries and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment.
In the past decade, people's views of trans people have really evolved, and it's very much talked about a lot now.
Right.
How does that affect you as a person, but also as a writer and actor, someone trying to work in this industry?
Well, it's definitely, I mean, for me, what the funny part is that there's always been a talk of if you're a woman in this industry, it's harder for you to get anything done. And that was my experience before. And now that I transitioned, I'm like, oh wow, I went from bad to worse. It's even harder to get anything done as a transgender person. So I try not to let it stop me. I try to stay positive and understand that this is an art, and what you're working on is human stories, and that transgender is just an element of the emotions and the stories that you're trying to tell. And I'm also multicultural, so I do come from, I'm French and Portuguese and Brazilian, so it's funny to be in America and see the difference between how people react to you, because in other countries, let's say Brazil, for example, in the areas that I know, this was never really an issue. In the places that I come from, it's very welcome. But here in America, we can live in California, so this is very welcome here too. I feel safe.
Yeah.
But I know that I can't go in certain parts of the country, and I know that there's other countries that I can't go to and have an easy time like I have here in California. So as a storyteller, it really helps me to know there's just, if you're gonna tell a cultural story, that I know these different elements of different cultures and how they behave differently, and what makes a person feel safe to just be alive, and the ways that it stops their life from progressing just because of who they are. And so I have these different perspectives on that aspect as well.
Now, Cris, where can our viewers find out more about you?
I am on Instagram and Facebook, and I also, Voices on Paper, the table read group that I run, is also on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, it's Voices on Paper, and on Instagram, it's Your Voices on Paper. And for me personally, it's Cris Felipe on Facebook and Christiana Cris Felipe on Instagram.
Now, when does your group meet? And are you open to new members?
We meet on a weekly basis every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time on Zoom. So we have members from all over the globe, all over the country, in different time zones. And so if you can make that time zone on a weekly basis, we always welcome new members. We're looking for new voices, new perspectives, writers of all levels that can come and learn from listening to all of us, but also a writer with their own experiences where they can listen to a story and their perspective gives the writer new things to think about. And also we love new life experiences, and we get to talk about like, oh, I would have never thought of it that way, and for me I think this way, and we become like a community of open minds and learning and really giving writers as many perspectives that they can play with to see how to better improve their stories.
Now, everyone, please look into Voices on Paper. And thank you, Cris, for coming on to Maeya TV. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Please stay tuned because we have more interviews coming up. Bye.
Thank you very much.